So let's say Elon Musk gets a human colony to Mars in 2026. This is a question I actually heard for the first time on Hank Green and John Green's podcast, Dear Hank and John. How should the Martians, I suppose they might be called, how should they live their lives? Should they be on the Martian clock? Should they be on the Earth clock? Are their times of day going to be different? Are their computers going to work differently?
Yeah, so
wait a minute, Neil. Before you do this, let me just hand. If it's 2026, they should be on the Jack Daniels clock, because quite frankly, to live on Mars in 2026, you got to be drunk.
So it's Jack Daniels o'clock.
Exactly.
Not a sponsor.
Jack o'clock. All right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Give new meaning to Jack o' lantern, right? It's just Jack everywhere. So here's the thing. Our time is measured to match how we live. Okay. So our year is cued off the seasons. But you realize there are 3 other possible year lengths we could have used and did not. Okay. Because those other years do not coincide precisely with the change of the seasons. So we have a season clock. A season, we keep track of a year based on seasons. Okay. And by the way, so that's not the time it takes Earth to go around the sun. The time it takes Earth to go around is slightly different from the time it takes us to repeat to the vernal equinox, which is a fiducial metric for when you begin an astronomical calendar. Okay. It's the timing from the vernal equinox, which is the first day of spring in the northern hemisphere. So the time it takes Earth to go around the sun is slightly different. All right. So you could do that. We could have made calendars of the time it takes Earth to go around the sun, but then other things don't match up with that. And the first day of spring would migrate through the calendar, and it would end up in April, and then May and June, July, August. And it would just completely cycle through because we wouldn't care about it. We care about when we show up on the same side of the sun, in that being our definition of the year. But what good is that for us? We don't live according to that. We live according to the seasons. So sensibly, our years are indexed to seasons. Sensibly, we evolved as mammals in a world that has day and night. And our circadian rhythms, by and large, match the day and night cycles. So a day makes sense to us. We could have defined a day to be 36 hours. We could have. Okay. But what would that mean for you? You'd be sleeping at different, what you wouldn't sleep at the same time interval in one 36-hour frame compared to the other?
No, it means you're in Vegas.
Unless you're in Vegas, exactly, or in a one of those malls where there's no clocks and there's no windows, right? And, the betting halls, like you said. So Mars, you ask, what do people in Mars care about? Do they care about seasons? Mars goes through seasons. Mars' axis is tipped like Earth. Mars has polar ice caps. Mars has winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mars rotates about once every 24 hours. So you wouldn't have to adjust much to the Martian day. But the Martian year is much longer. So if you really like birthdays, you're going to have fewer of them on Mars, and just deal with it, right? But otherwise, or you do what they do for the astronauts. The astronauts cue off of Houston time, mission control. That's what time it is on the space station. It's the time in Houston. You pick. It really doesn't matter. It's all arbitrary.
Well, we'll let it continue to be arbitrary then.